This is a video reply to EmergentPlay's most recent video about resolution mechanics, dice mechanics, and when to use them. And I agreed with almost everything you had to say, which kind of surprises me in that I'm making this reply. I have a lot to say. So let's see. First of all, you asked, when do we roll dice? Okay. In my groups, and pretty much every group I've ever been connected with, we roll dice whenever challenge is beyond a character's comfort zone. We roll when environmental factors will affect performance, such as not having enough tools, or it's particularly urgent to the character to complete this successfully, and so stress or other factors interfere with the smooth execution of their duties. We roll dice when characters are in direct opposition to another being or another character. Unless that system has some kind of easy comparative mechanic where you can quickly rule that there's some form of auto victory. Basically, if you're in contention with another being, you roll. And I find that dice are usually rolled by beginners or newcomers to a system before they have a chance to really have a clear benchmark of what a character should be able to do normally. Now, as you were getting into that, you described the effect of predetermined directions for a story. And I know that was just an example, and I think I'm just dovetailing on that point, but I feel strongly that predetermined directions for a story cause more problems for resolution mechanics than stories which are discovered in play. If a story is constructed, as you mentioned, with a lock capable of defeating the thief's lockpicking skills, but no story has been planned for what to do if the lockpicking fails. The problem is not with choosing or not choosing to roll dice. The problem is not with the resolution mechanic. The problem is that there aren't enough lines on your railroad. There are as many good stories that involve a band of characters not getting into the area behind the door as there are where they do. So playing the game that emerges from decisions and from the resolution mechanic, rather than the game that somebody has planned, allows the dice to serve their function as resolution mechanic first, and they're not simply something to do while the GM looks up the next room description. So, an important point. While you were getting into that, you talked about rolls negatively affecting a character concept, and this is something of a bugbear for me. I think I've blogged about it before. I'll include the links below. I have problems with this concept from the beginning. I have problems with this because, just like with predetermined storylines, walking into a game, having a player come into a game with a notion of their character's backstory and level of competence that is in direct opposition to what the resolution mechanic, what the system actually allows, that's just a recipe for pure frustration for everybody at the table, right? Not just the player, not just the game master, to continually butt your head up against, yeah, my character is this awesome guy in this area, yet I keep failing every dice roll that I make. It's time for that character to wake up and smell the coffee, to realize that they're not what they think they were. This is character growth, right? It's a good thing. When a group is first learning a system, this kind of conflict between concept and mechanic is going to happen by accident. But we don't have to encourage it, we don't have to coddle it. Character growth comes from conflict between self-conception and what the characters and the players learn about the characters in play. And that segued into Just Say Yes. I also have some trouble with Just Say Yes. Not a lot, but a little. Just Say Yes, or Yes But, or No But. I can get behind the last two, but the first one dwells too firmly in what I see as the camp of wish fulfillment theater. And I find it actively works against the challenge and the simulation that I strive for when I play and run games. I also find it tends to lead to an engagement of the player, not the player as their character. And that runs counter to the level of immersion that I'm looking for in a game. If a group and their GM know the group's character's capabilities well, and if as a group they know the system and setting well, then just say yes works all by itself. The group will only roll dice when, as I mentioned before, the challenge exceeds the known comfort zone of the characters. Otherwise, they'll just do what they take as routine. Games like Ubiquity, the Ubiquity role-playing system, they take the guesswork out of all this, even for beginning characters. And the mechanic of taking the average just makes this clean. Anyway, I wholeheartedly support the need for risk, for consequence, for reward, and like you, I find the concept of a game where the character's choices have no meaning to be bizarre. I mean, if that's all you're doing, you might as well just read what the person wants to happen rather than playing with them. So, I guess my final point is that just say yes in terms of dealing with resolution mechanics or not dealing resolution. I don't think this works all by itself. I find that it tends to lead to peculiar rises and drops in tension, which start forcing the game into a search for confrontation. Oh, the GM wants me to roll, so it must be important. And by extension, everything else is unimportant, and you know where that goes. I think it's better to source things in character always, so that you get a sequence of events which arise from choices made in character, and when you know those characters, you know the system, then when to roll dice is obvious. Thanks again for sparking such an interesting debate, and I look forward to seeing what some of the other replies are.